Today is day 7 of 30 days of sharing my aligned success experiment. And the next piece that I want to share with you is learning to use your authority to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. There are 7 different authorities in human design, and that's the way that your body is going to tell you when something is correct or not correct, especially in terms of how and where you're committing your energy. Especially if you're like me and you're one of the non-energy types, for me as a projector. And so my authority is the Splenic Authority. And this was really challenging for me at first to figure out how that splenic authority works, because splenic authority, it's very subtle. It's that survival instinct. It's that survival intelligence. It's kind of intuition. It's that thing that tells you, oh, like, don't turn down this road. There's danger down there. Or it's that, it's basically kind of that survival instinct of when you're in the woods and you kind of get that feeling, if you don't run, then the bear's going to eat you. And so they say that the splenic authority, they say it's very quiet, it's subtle, and it's really easy for the noise of mental chatter to drown out that splenic insight, that splenic knowing, that splenic hit. And definitely emotional energy is way louder than even mental energy. And so the key to understanding splenic authority comes from really being in your own energy, being in your own aura, so that you're not absorbing other people's mental or emotional energy or that external pressure at first. And some people will say it's like a smell or a taste. For me, it's definitely a feeling that I get in my body. And when it's a yes, it's kind of a light, like excited. I can just feel my body moving towards that thing, even if it logically doesn't make sense, even if I know that the people around me aren't going to understand or agree with that being the correct thing to do. And when it's a no, it's kind of like that heavy, like my body's moving through quicksand and doesn't, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, it makes sense to go do that. It makes sense to go to that event because maybe I'll meet someone who, have a conversation and will want to hire me. Or, it makes sense to go to that networking event and get myself out there so that I can be acknowledged and recognized. Or it makes sense to make that social media post today because I have to be consistent, because the algorithm's going to like it better if I post something every day. Or, all of those logical reasons of trying to control the outcome, trying to put myself in that right situation, when in truth, what I need to do is make sure that I first have that correct invitation from someone who acknowledges me, who sees my value, who sees the strengths that I carry, and wants me to be their guide, and then formally invites me to share what I'm thinking or share my insight, share the potentials that I can see that are going to help them have success in what they're doing, which is what I'm really here to do. And so it really does take a lot, or it took a lot for me to start to let myself honor when something was a no for me, when it didn't feel correct, when I didn't have the energy to do it, because I spent most of my life being really good at ignoring that and pushing through it. And in doing that, I wasn't getting the invitations that I could have gotten if I had let myself say no more than I did, if I'd let myself honor. I do feel like in most of my life, I've been pretty good of when I do get that yes, of letting myself follow that, even if it doesn't make sense. Um, I can't really think of a time where I got a yes to something and didn't let myself do it. I tend to have a pretty high tolerance for risk and do things even when they don't make sense. I have a tendency to do things that most people think are a little bit crazy, and a little bit extreme sometimes. But for me, it's been more of a challenge of when I get the no, letting myself say no when I feel like I'm expected to do it. And I really love to help people. I really love to feel needed and that I can make a difference. And so I've always been kind of an over giver. And so pulling back from that has been challenging, but really important. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you know what your authority is, let me know in the comments. And if you don't, definitely let me know, because I can help you figure out what it is so you can start to learn how your body is telling you what's correct and what's not correct. There are 7 different authorities, and the way that our body lets us know is different for all of us, for all of those different authorities. And even within splenic, it might show up different for you. And so if you are splenic, it can just know it can be really challenging in the beginning to understand how that's communicating you. The other thing that can be really challenging with splenic is we can't necessarily make our authority speak to us. We kind of have to wait for when it's going to give us those messages and be ready to hear it, and most importantly to follow it. Whereas there are some other authorities where they have control over when they check in, and they can get the answer anytime they want or need, which I've always been a little bit jealous of. But really, in truth, even if you're splenic and you're not getting that clear message from your spleen, then you can probably trust that you're not going to get a no, because if that no is important, you would get it. When you're going to get those insights when you need them, as long as you've learned to check in and to follow them. All right, so that's enough for our day 7 ramble about my Aligned Success experiments. I'm so thrilled that you're here and that you've watched all the way to the end today. Hopefully you followed the whole series. If not, go back. This is day 7, and look for the future ones to come out over the next couple of weeks. All right, we will see you in the next video.